Recently, I released a video about whether it was possible to beat New Super Mario Bros. U backwards. As I promised in the last video, I'm now going to tackle New Super Luigi U. You know, the one where Mario is absent and Luigi has his insane jumping ability but bad traction. If you remember from my last video, I promised myself that I would make this video when I got out of my parents' house after leaving college for the first time. The only reason I wouldn't make this video is if Nathaniel Bandy made a video regarding the topic in this format. It's been 5 years and he hasn't made this video in a challenge format yet. Now I'm here to do what he couldn't. Nathaniel Bandy, I'm a really big fan of your work and your channel, thank you. Now I'm going to explain the rules for this challenge. If you remember the rule set I used in my last video, feel free to skip ahead. If you haven't watched my last video, go back and watch it. Please! Anyways, here's the rule set I'll be using for this challenge. We are not playing the game backwards, only the stages. Yes, some of you in the comments ask, let's play the game starting at World 9 and go back to World 1, but that's not how Bandy, Smashy, or I did these challenges, and it's what I'm going to stick with. Courses start at the end and end at the start. I place a pipe at the start of the course to take you to the flagpole. The flagpole has been placed in a different location because you can't enter a goal pole from the right side without ASM hacks. ASM hacks for games are pretty much outside my scope, and I can create a zone with a flagpole in it that will produce essentially the same effect. Boss fights are placed at the end of the level because they are equivalent to the level's flagpole. They end the level. All pipe and door entrances were modified so they could actually be enterable, otherwise you can't enter them. Auto-scrolling controllers have been modified to auto-scroll backwards. I felt this was fair to do because if you start from the end and have to navigate backwards to the beginning, I felt as if the camera should scroll with you too. Plus, I did this in my previous video. Also, I modified all nabbit paths because if they aren't modified, the game would freeze for a bit and make you lose a life. I modified the nabbit paths the way I did so you could get an easy way to obtain P acorns. This may be controversial for some, but since I figured I was modifying the auto-scroll paths, I could modify nabbit paths as well. Anything else that requires paths has not been modified. That's because those paths are not related to the camera and they're only related to objects in the level. Also, anything else such as the poison cloud in 8-2 has not been modified. That's because those things are actually part of the level and not just related to the level's camera. Multiplayer bubbling and popping the bubbles with the gamepad is not allowed because this cheeses the game. However, I can use multiplayer without the gamepad in dire circumstances. I can bubble, but I need another character to pop the bubble, like in Mario Wii. P acorns, gamepad boost blocks, and nabbit are only allowed in dire circumstances. If a P acorn or gamepad boost block is required to beat the game, it will be recorded with a yellow circle and a only with gamepad / P acorn / nabbit to it, because those power-ups are OP and game breaking. Baby Yoshis, though a mechanic I tend not to use in casual gameplay, are only used when absolutely necessary. They are a legal part of the game for all intents and purposes, so levels that require Baby Yoshi will receive a green checkmark regardless. With the rules out of the way, let's go! World 1-1 was easy enough. I just had to grab an acorn suit from these waddle wings and fly my way to the end. At least it wasn't like New Super Mario Bros. U, which required multiplayer to beat. World 1-2 was also a cakewalk. In the Acorn Plains Tower, I immediately took damage to these dry bones as I entered the level, but otherwise the level was quite simple to beat. Boom Boom was no challenge either, as you can easily cheese his fight. However, in Rolling Yoshi Hills, we hit a roadblock. You can't progress through the level because you can't go down past the semi-solids. If you remember my last video, I called this the semi-solid issue. It's a common feature in tower levels, but I was surprised to find our first roadblock to be in a non-tower level. Since we can't make any progress after World 1-3, we have to take the secret exit in World 1-2. This unlocks the secret path to World 1-Cheep Chomp Chase. This level is not that easy to beat, as the Cheep Chomp is one of the most annoying enemies in the game. It spawns from the left side, which makes it even more annoying. However, we are able to enter this pipe, even though there are bubbles coming out of it. Guess they fixed this from New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Defeating World 1-Cheep takes us to World 5. World 5-1 was easy enough. I went in with an acorn suit and cleared the course. 5-2 was simple as well. All I had to do in 5-3 was to navigate through these brambles here, but otherwise it was beatable. I thought that World 5-Tower would be impossible because of the rising poison, but actually the poison takes a few seconds to rise before covering the door. Once again, Boom Boom is not a threat. World 5-Ghost House in this game, unlike its predecessor, was actually a straightforward run backwards. Interesting thing though, the game's timer is not hard-coded to 100 seconds. You can actually change the time required to beat the stage through modifying the game's timer in a convenient level editor. It's just that for all the stages in New Super Luigi U, Nintendo decided to set the timer for each stage to 100 seconds. However, this is just for the first area in each level. Sometimes the other areas have different timer settings and normally those are unused. However, since with my mod I had to swap some areas around, the first area starting time is 500 seconds for this level. You're welcome. With World 5-4, this piranha plant kept trying to damage me here, but after learning its patterns, I was able to clear the stage with ease. World 5-5 was quite simple. Apparently, you can get a 1-up here just by going to the left. I never knew that about this level until I looked at the level in the editor. I took the secret exit in World 5-2 to unlock World 5-6 and 5-7. World 5-6 was simple enough, just navigating through the Sumo Bros. However, World 5-7 was impossible. You see, this level also has rising poison, but unlike the tower, it would go exactly how you'd expect it to. We're simply not fast enough to catch up to the rising poison. Honestly, Iggy's Swinging Chains Castle was just as easy to beat backwards as forwards. After defeating Iggy, it's on to World 6. World 6-1 was possible. Without the acorn suit, it requires a precise jump in between these fuzzies, but otherwise simple enough. In 6-2, we are stuck at this room at the former end of the level. We aren't given a platform to stand on to enter this pipe here. We are hit with this problem with this stage in Mario U as well. Luckily, unlike in Mario U, we're able to clear the stage by using a pea acorn and sailing over the top. In 6-Tower, it may look like we're stopped by the semi-solid issue, but there is a pipe to take us out of this mess. We can't take the normal exit as we are blocked off by these semi-solids, so that's why we're going to take the secret exit. These pipes are just pipe cannons that take us to the top of the level. From here we can take the secret exit and this course is possible. We can unlock World 6-6 Spine Coaster Stowaways. Unfortunately, it's not possible to beat this level with any normal strategies. I tried to use an acorn suit in an attempt to clear the gap, but we can't get far enough to reach any kind of platform. Besides, even if we were to land on this platform, I would take damage to the piranha. Even with Baby Yoshi, this course isn't beatable. I had to get the pea acorn to help me to fly to the end. It looks like we're doing better in this game than in Mario U so far. Looks like we might be able to— oh! We can't get past the semi-solids in this level. Darn, and we are doing so good! Does this mean we're cooked? Not quite. We can go back to World 5-Ghost House and take the secret exit, which unlocks World 5-Parabeetle Parade. World 5-Parabeetle was difficult. If you remember this level's equivalent in Mario U, you will remember the story that went behind this one. Anyways, with this level it wasn't so bad. I did die a few times because of the camera, but otherwise it was possible with Baby Yoshi. I wasn't going to subject myself to the kind of torture that I put myself in Mario U. This unlocks World 7, the Moraine Clouds. World Moraine Clouds 1, Frozen Fuzzies, was complicated. This level required me to make precise acorn suit jumps to defeat the Ice Bros here, as I didn't want to lose my power-up. World 7-2 was simple to beat, nothing to write home about here. However, World 7-3 was impossible. We are stopped by this semi-solid here. There is a pipe in which you can get a 1-up and look at 8-bit Luigi, but it doesn't lead to anywhere useful. Darn! We can still get to the tower from here though, which is impossible. I can't even make it past these blocks here. They're supposed to move, but you have to be on the other side of the level for them to activate. Sadly, it is not possible to beat New Super Luigi U backwards. That's 5 out of 5 games that aren't possible. We were so close though. At the end of the video, I will do a game-by-game comparison of each new Super Mario Bros. Game to see which game is the closest to beating possible backwards, how many stages are possible to clear backwards, and more analyses. But stay tuned! I'm still going to go through every stage in the game to see how many are possible backwards. Going back to World 1, in World 1-4, it was easy to cruise past these piranha plants with the nut suit. And World 1-5 was simple too. In Lemmy's Lights Out Castle, the most difficult part about this level was that I had to make a precise acorn suit jump to get past these munchers here. Otherwise, it was fairly simple to beat. And that's it for World 1. On to World 2! Layer Cake Desert 1 was harder going backwards, with me dying a few times to the fishy boobkins, but otherwise it was beatable. Fun fact, I nearly forgot this level existed due to how easy it was to get all the star coins when playing this course normally. World 2-2 was easy enough. The only thing that was bad about this level was the fact that I couldn't use Yoshi until near the end of the level. World 2-3 was easy to beat too. However, Layer Cake Desert's tower was impossible to beat. The screws you need to wind in order to open the blocks are on the other side, which makes this level impossible. World 2-4 required me to do a precise acorn suit jump at the beginning, but otherwise the level was very easy to beat. Fun fact, Nintendo decided to hide this level's secret exit in such an obscure location that I had to look up over and over and over again how to unlock the secret exit before memorizing it. Like World 2-4, 2-5 also required me to do a precise acorn suit jump at the beginning, but otherwise it was beatable. World 2-6 was possible too. I had to navigate the rolling hills because they were against me, but with the flying squirrel suit in tow, I was able to beat it. Slippery rope ladders was easy to beat backwards. It was actually easier to beat this level backwards rather than forwards because you can skip through this level just by using the nut suit. Morton's Castle was easy to beat with the acorn suit in hand. So with that out of the way, on to World 3! World 3-1 was possible, and 3-2 was quite simple as well. I got the Fire Flower in this level and was defeating all the enemies with ease. However, in Shish Kebab Tower, we are stopped by the semi-solid issue. Again, darn it with these skewer tower levels. In Haunted Gargle Hole, all I had to do was sail over the stage with an acorn suit to clear it. Beanstalk Jungle was possible too. I just had to float down onto the bottom. The auto-scroll didn't trigger until I was at the pipe, which was a plus. With the acorn suit, I am able to clear Water Spout Sprint with ease. I can bypass the Cheat Sheeps and the Great Geysers easily too. With Dragon Needle Depths, this set of brick blocks I can't pass through. However, there's a way out of this. I went back in with the penguin suit, took damage to this urchin to bypass the other set of brick blocks, and then I had to take damage to Dragon Needle to bypass it, and then I was able to beat the stage. Larry's Trigger Happy Castle was simple to beat too. It was fairly straightforward going backwards. Also, I didn't have to worry about King Bill spawning in this first room. Sometimes playing a level backwards makes things easier instead of harder. With Larry defeated, on to World 4! Frosted Glacier 1 is not possible. After defeating these bruisers here, we once again are stopped by the semi-solid issue. You may think that you can just bypass this level by trying to rotate past these spinning stars here, but you can't do that. They're just there for decoration, I suppose. World 4-2 was possible with no problems. However, in the tower, we had a problem. It seems like a lot of problems happen in tower levels. At first, it looks like smooth sailing and I can progress in the level as there's no floor that I can't pass through. But there's a catch. There's a platform that goes straight up that is required to touch. Luckily, I can just pass through this secret wall to hide in this alcove here. When I went down, however, the floor did not let me pass through any further. Darn. I thought this was a cool trick to bypass the semi-solid issue. Oh, and that pipe? That's a pipe cannon which takes you to the top of the level. Sorry. Luckily, 4-3 was just a quick dash through the level, nothing to worry about here. In Weighty Waddle Wings, I had to dodge all the Waddle Wings and Bomberbills here. There's one precise jump that requires a nut suit here, but otherwise it is possible. Ice Slide Expressway was a nightmare. Normally what you do is you get a penguin suit and perform one big belly slide until you reach the end, but since we're going backwards, we can't do that. The 100-second timer that is usually present in Luigi U was actually a hindrance to this level, and it was the only level in which the timer was actually a threat. I had done some attempts off camera, and I discovered this threat was to use the acorn suit because there's this giant wall here that you can't really use the penguin suit on. I could use one-sided wall jumps, but it would be a time killer as I needed to make use of every second I had in order to make this work. My first attempt with the acorn suit saw me eat up way too much time, so I exited the level and had to start over. Once I made a flying squirrel jump up here, I then clinged to the wall using the flying squirrel ability and spin jump to gain some extra height. Once I clear the wall, I float down until I see 3 buzzy beetles. I grab a beetle to throw its shell at the piranha plants, otherwise I will take damage to them, which I want to avoid. Also, I need to avoid taking damage to the shell, since when the shell comes back at you, the speed it gains from the rolling hill is immense. Once I kill these piranha plants, I'm able to make my way to the next section. I do well until I take damage to this piranha plant here. I'm later damaged by a buzzy beetle, but I'm still alive enough to get to this next section. I make it past this incredibly tight passage with the rolling hill against me, but then I reach this chasm. See, here's why I need the acorn suit. Its gliding abilities will help me get up this part of the level to see if there's a way up here. I spent 40 minutes of attempts trying to make it to where I can climb the chasm. Once I finally got to the chasm with an acorn suit, guess what? Nothing. All that hard work and it's not possible? What a letdown! After recording the footage for this level, I recorded footage of me going in this level with a penguin suit, and I got to the end considerably faster than using an acorn suit. I forgot that one-sided wall jumps are easier to do in Luigi U. So I really didn't need to grind this out for 40 minutes. Nevertheless, it's still not possible due to the fact that we can't access the first room from here. The ghost house is impossible because the blocks that normally break when you go near them don't break anymore because you enter on the opposite side. Well, great! In Flipper's Flows, you need to make a precise acorn suit jump to make it past his first platform and then use the acorn suit to maneuver your way throughout the course. But it's possible nonetheless. Wendy's Castle, though, it was difficult to say the least. First, I had to lure this thwomp to crush the brick blocks here. With my acorn suit, I could float to the set of bricks here, but I immediately took damage to this thwomp here. This crushed my hopes and dreams of beating this level because the acorn suit power-up has saved my life in this run so many times. My first attempt recording this, I managed to make it past these thwomps while surviving in small form, but it was these thwomps that made this run a nightmare. Normally you go in a downward direction when dashing past these thwomps, but now we're going in an upward direction. Given that Luigi's traction isn't the greatest and these jumps are so precise, I either wind up missing these platforms or dying to a thwomp. I wound up dying to this section multiple times. I even went in with a propeller suit to see if that did any good. While it didn't do any real good, I managed to somehow make it past these thwomps on this attempt. I didn't tap the red coin ring because it would require me to dash past those thwomps in the other direction and then dash past those thwomps the third time. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Then I had to bait this thwomp here and then wall slide and wall jump off this wall here. Then I had to jump to these platforms here and wait for the thwomps to fall, which I had to do. Twice. I then grabbed the mushroom from here, ready to tackle the final leg of the challenge. It turns out I needed the mushroom because I took damage to this thwomp before making it to the final door. Needless to say, that was certainly an experience. And World 4 is done! Going back to World 5, the airship in World 5 was possible to beat. We tackled the rest of World 5 earlier, this is just the only one on the list we didn't beat. Now on to World 6. World 6-3 was possible, though it required me to dodge the spikes here. World 6-4 was easy too, as it was just a long fall to the bottom. With 6-5, there wasn't any weird semi-solid issues we had to deal with, unlike its Mario U counterparts, so the level was smooth sailing from here. With 6-7, I thought this level wasn't going to be possible because of the semi-solid issue with the slide lifts, but as it turns out, you can just run across the top. Who knew? With Roy's Ironclad Castle, I thought there was going to be ironclad, no way out of this tiny room. But, like with its predecessor, you can actually enter it from the back entrance and enter the boss door this way. Again, who knew? With World 6 out of the way, let's tackle the rest of World 7. Vanishing Ghost House was one of those ones where it was easier going backwards than forwards. Normally the platforms disappear behind me, but since I'm going backwards, they don't start disappearing until I reach the beginning. This part was not that hard at all. The next part required an acorn suit jump to get the height needed to reach this spinning platform here. The platform wound up falling too quickly, and I didn't get the proper height needed to clear the stage normally. I did wind up passing by the secret exit though, so if the normal exit wasn't possible for whatever reason, I could take the secret exit. My third recorded attempt saw me reach the platform and jump off it in time to get the height required to proceed to the next section. From there, it was just floating with the acorn suit, letting out the spinning platform, and just floating some more until I reached the door here with time to spare. Above the bouncy clouds, having defeat a boomerang bro right away, and aside from taking damage to this boomerang bro, the rest of the level was easy. In 7-5, I was making these fancy jumps with the acorn suit, but Luigi's traction didn't help me out here. My second attempt saw me take damage twice to these piranha plants here before miraculously spin jumping to this spot and taking a mushroom. From there, the level was easy. Since we're playing three-headed snake block backwards, the name almost seems like a misnomer because the snake block that's featured in the title barely gets to appear. The auto scroll on this one doesn't start until we touch the snake block in question, so we can cruise through this level without the camera scrolling backward. I needed an acorn suit to make these tough jumps here, but otherwise it was beatable. I managed to make it into the pipe before the camera would have pushed me off screen, which was a relief. Ludwig's castle is sadly impossible to beat. The blocks which are normally supposed to move don't move when you play this backwards, and I really thought this one would be possible. Unfortunately, the airship is also impossible. There's a pipe cannon in the other room which takes you to this room, but we can't access the pipe cannon from here. With World 7 done, on to World 8! 8-1 was just as easy to play backwards as forwards, nothing special to mention here. Did you know this level used to frustrate me when playing it normally because of Luigi's worst traction? 8-2, like its Mario U counterpart, is also impossible due to the poison cloud. Hot cogs pretty much require me to use the acorn suit because of how difficult these rotating gears were. My first attempt saw me dying to the level because of Luigi's traction, but on my second attempt I was able to beat the level. Firefall Rising is actually easier to beat backwards than forwards as I'm going down instead of up, which basically allows me to cheese multiple sections of this level. I did have to be careful of the lava pools in the second section here as it's basically blind, but with knowing the locations of the lava pools I can navigate this level with ease. In 8-Castle 1, normally there's no door here in this room, but I added a pipe here anyway to show you the rest of the level. The rising lava actually isn't an issue, it's this floor that won't let you go down. Ugh, the semi-solid issue persists again. World 8-Castle 2, the final battle, is actually possible to beat backwards and having the acorn suit helps. And that's it for World 8. On to World 9. Upon entering this level, I thought that 9-1 was definitely impossible backwards. There's too much distance between the start location and any meaningful platform. I tried entering this course with an acorn suit and Balloon Baby Yoshi, and I was actually able to make it to this first spine coaster. I was able to make some considerable distance in this level before taking damage to this fuzzy and using all 7 of my Baby Yoshi jumps. So I had to bust out the P acorn for this one. 9-2 was pretty easy to beat. It was definitely simpler than its Mario U counterpart, Run For It. I liked this level when I was younger, but I always wondered why this level existed. It felt odd to me. The first part of this level requires me to maneuver my way past these waddle wings here and then make a precise jump with the acorn suit here. I'm required to hit the P-switch at this point to create a bridge for me to walk on, then I hit this P-switch here to create some brick block platforms for me to stand on. I grab these coins to make the next part of the level more convenient for myself, then I hit the P-switch and progress my way through the rest of the level. I'm required to hit the P-switch because this wall of coins appears here, and when the P-switch isn't pressed, they become bricks which we can't pass through without a penguin suit. With that though, the level is easy to clear backwards. 9-3 was hard to beat. I had to go in with a star and a penguin suit because the level was underwater and the level had bubble pipes that kept me moving in the wrong direction. Bloopers, swarms of cheeps, and a cheap chomp to boot. I was in for a tough time. I hate water levels as is, and this one was no joke. I died quite a few times in this level, to the point where I had to go in with a penguin suit and a star every time. I had a run where I made it past these enemies in big form, and then I obtained a fire flower. I was able to defeat the cheap chomp quite easily each time he came. When he was off screen, I had to carefully make my way past the bubble pipes. I had a run in which I was super close to the end, and then I spent a good 3 seconds trying to find the pipe that would take me to the end. Cheap Chop then spawned in and killed me, so then I had to look in the editor to find the pipe that would take me to the goal. Hey, you try finding the correct pipe when there's 11 green pipes on the top of your screen. Then I had more attempts in which I just flat out died. But finally I found the correct pipe and was able to make my way to the goal pole. In Hammer Swing Hangout, the auto scroll doesn't trigger until I enter a certain location. Since I don't enter said location until the end of the level, the camera doesn't scroll at all, allowing me to drop my way down and clear the stage. Sadly, Under Construction was impossible for me to beat normally. The platforms spawn in from the other side, and they don't spawn in time for me to get any meaningful height on them. However, this level is possible only with the pea acorn. Fire bar sprint is impossible as Luigi because the fire bars move in the opposite direction that I move in. Even going in with a star, an acorn suit, and damage boosting, there's only so much distance you can cover. But since Nathaniel Bandy was free to use the invincibility leaf as much as he liked in New Super Mario Bros. 2, I felt as if it was fair game to use Nabbit for the stage. In Cloudy Capers, the level requires you to defeat Lakitu and take his cloud to beat the stage. But Lakitu doesn't appear here, he appears further in the level, which you can't get to from here. So I had to get out the old pea acorn again. By going in with a star and impossible pendulums, you can actually avoid taking damage to the spike ball if you go quickly enough. Something interesting about this level is that the red coins spawn in here without you pressing the ring. The level requires weaving past some more spike balls and that's it. In Flying Squirrel Ovation, there's no way to climb this vertical level without a pea acorn. Normally you just fall down and are accompanied by gliding waddle wings, but playing it backwards makes it harder. With the pea acorn, you have to jump precisely enough to avoid the waddle wings, otherwise you'll take damage. But even after avoiding the waddle wings, it's still impossible. The blocks that normally get out of your way after a few seconds don't get out of the way, so after all that work of climbing to the top, this level is impossible. Alright, that was a lot of levels. In this game, 60 levels were possible backwards without using the pea acorn, a further 5 were possible with the pea acorn, 1 more was possible with using Nabbit, and 16 levels weren't possible. As promised, I will do the ultimate ranking for each new Super Mario Bros. Game to see which game is the ultimate game to beat backwards. I will compare games to see which game got the furthest to being beaten backwards and seeing which game has the most levels which are possible backwards. For the levels that required a pea acorn to beat, those levels will be counted as possible because 1, they were technically beatable, and 2, so they can stay in line with the other games that did not have as many game-breaking features.
After releasing my Mario U video, Kamek the Great Gamer pointed out you can actually beat World 6-5 in New Super Mario Bros. U by taking the secret exit, so that will be considered in my rankings.
New Super Mario Bros. DS was the game that got the furthest backwards, as Bandy was able to make it to World 8-1 before he couldn't progress any further. Next up is New Super Luigi U, as I was able to make it to World 7-2 before hitting a dead end. New Super Mario Bros. U is third in line, as we're able to clear the game up to World 6-1. New Super Mario Bros. Wii is next, as we're only able to progress to World 5-3. Finally, in last place comes New Super Mario Bros. 2, as Bandy was only able to make it to World 1-3. As far as the percentages go for each game,
New Super Luigi U had the lowest percentage of levels that were impossible, with only 16 out of 82 or 19.4% of its levels.
New Super Mario Bros. DS was second with 20 out of 80 stages that were impossible, or 25%.
New Super Mario Bros. U is third with 22 out of 82 stages that weren't beatable, or 26.8%.
New Super Mario Bros. 2 is fourth with 24 out of 81 that were impossible, or 29.6%. Finally, New Super Mario Bros. Wii is last with 23 out of 77 levels that weren't possible, or 29.9%. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. This video aims to conclude the new Super Mario Bros. Backwards series that Bandy set out to make 5 years ago. With that, I hope you enjoy my content going forward. I'm still planning on making some videos, so stay tuned.